We started raising in October. It was like hella nerve-wracking, to be honest. The funds commitments were very, very slow. I think it was like 100K in the initial 2 days. I was aiming for a safety net of 550K. On 27th October, it got filled. We got 6.1 million.
Hi there, Insert. It's Mike from QuickNote, and I'm here with Maushish from Paystream.
We are basically building a DeFi suite of tools which is solely focused on maximize yield on every single dollar that you earn. We went into an early version of private beta in November with liquidity provisioning terminal.
So that's 4 months since then. You've just completed a raise on MetaDAO.
We started raising in October. It was like hella nerve-wracking, to be honest. The funds commitments were very, very slow. I think it was like 100K in the initial 2 days, 100K on 200K, and that was nerve-wracking.
What were you aiming for?
A safety net of 550K was the minimum raise that we were targeting. I'm DMing Colin. I'm like, hey man, what is going on? Like, why this is so slow?
Colin's the other guy from MetaDAO that's not profit.
Yeah, so I'm DMing Colin and I'm DMing Crew from Umbra. Luckily, Ram reached out to me. So I'm DMing every founder who is being involved with MetaDAO one way or another. And they have been really, really supportive, to be honest. They're like, it will get filled, just relax. The product is good and everything. On 27th October, it got filled. We got 6.1 million. And at this time, I am in a train in India. And Colin is calling me. And he's like, hey, how much money do you want Paystream to accept? And I'm in train, I'm cutting off, and I'm like, okay, what's the number? So after going some back and forth, we decided 750K is good enough, and we went ahead with that. And luckily people loved that, because prior to us, some tokens were not going in the direction which people were hoping to, but luckily Paystream did. We did a very good launch.
It's a very sensible decision. Accepting a valuation that matches the right stage of your company is a great thing. Just to establish the timeline, when did you start working on Paystream?
It was 2024 October. I was at an event called DeFi Security Summit in Thailand. It was around DevCon. I was basically in that event to find, should I take the leap from being a security researcher to becoming a founder, and how will I do that, because I haven't done this. So I met Jack from Cantina. Cantina is an auditing firm, and he sort of pushed me that he should go all in. I told him everything about Paystream and everything.
And what was Paystream? Like, how did you come across that this idea?
I started in crypto, I would say, typically just to impress a girl. TLDR didn't work out. I stuck around. I became a smart contract developer, then worked with ETH Global. That's how I made my first money. ETH Global organized a hackathon, and my particular role was make it easier for attendees to showcase their projects to the judges. I was sort of a judge helper. I made like $100 in 6 hours. Living in India, that was a huge thing. And at that time, I was like, okay, this seems to be the right space at that time. And then I became a freelance developer. I made some projects. Then I diverged into security.
If it's not clear, Maushish is a crypto native developer. Like, he came into tech to work in crypto.
Yeah, crypto is the only thing which I understand and I know. When I started into security, I'm reading code bases day and hour, because you got to be aware of every sort of vulnerability the auditors have found. After going with so many code bases, you get to see a pattern, different approaches to same problem, giving different pros and cons. And then you think they're not iterating on this approach.
So the idea of combining different strategies that you've seen before to effectively create something new, which has the strengths of both and the weaknesses of neither.
Yeah. It doesn't work in every case, by the way, but in some cases it used to.
You actually mentioned, by the way, some very impressive backtesting before that you ran through Paystream, so it's probably worth mentioning that to listeners.
Yeah, Paystream has this one strategy called pub-to-pub funding rate farmer, which allows users to farm the arbitrage between two different perpetual dexes. It gives you a simple, easy-to-use 3-click interface where you can just deposit money and open delta-neutral positions without going to these protocols. And we have an auto-close mechanism which ensures that these positions on these two different venues gets closed before they become unprofitable. We ensured every single thing. So there have been many black swan events happen in the last 2-3 years. So when we were building this auto-close mechanism, we were going through these black swan events, and technically they are extremely hard to predict, because they're based on things which shouldn't happen at all.
The definition of a black swan.
They come out of nowhere. So the first goal was, okay, we need to ensure that with the current architecture of the venues that we have integrated with, how can we do this thing which can survive all of these black swan events. And once we did that, we actually ran a ML model which still tries to predict how these sort of things can basically create another sort of a similar black swan event and what will happen to the auto close mechanism in that sort of scenario. The worst case which I have seen is losing 40 cents on $100,000.
Amazing.
So it's really been performing really good, but it took a lot of time to build that. I'm putting my whole net worth on Paystream. If I'm not able to put my money, actually my whole net worth on
Yep.
anything, I don't like to basically push it out to the
That
public.
feels ethical. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. So Paystream has been on mainnet since November. It's March now. How many users do you have? How much volume do you have? How's it going?
We initially launched in November was a liquidity provisioning terminal. You can use this particular interface to interact with Meteor and Radium and open positions, which allows you to automate a lot of tasks which Meteor and Radium doesn't allow. Like Meteor just introduced rebalancing. Paystream had that from day zero.
Yeah.
So these sort of things which we introduced in the terminal, users were loving. We had a typical take entry, which does not need to have any other token. You can just go with Solana or stablecoin.
It's nice not having to ape into some new token you haven't really heard
I mean,
of.
it's still crazy because Meteora has this feature called Zap in and out
Yep.
in their SDK.
Yep.
It's not on their front end, like on the app which you use. But yeah, we introduced these sort of features in the terminal, and people loved it. January, we were whitelisting the users. We went ahead around like 280 some users, and after that we made it public to use. But at the same time, people are not able to understand this complex mechanism. It's too much of a market making thing. Some LPS are able to make a good amount of money, but major isn't able to. At the same time, we are working on these other strategies, spot pub, funding rate farmer. The actual goal was to have the lending and borrowing segment live also between these strategies, because that was the major optimization part which we were focusing on. It was a make sense, okay, let's take a step back. We were like, okay, we have to optimize for revenue, so we need something which users can use on day zero without worrying about safety, can give them really good returns. Third thing, it has to be like really novel when it comes to use cases. So these strategies were in very early beta phase. Only tested out the basic form. So auto close was still in very early phase. And around that time, we were like, okay, let's get this thing first. Lending and borrowing we can do once we have scaled enough revenue. We evolved into the product where it's like we provide these sort of strategies. This is not the last goal. The last goal is to have a very easy to use vault, because not everyone likes to go see the right asset and click on the arbitrage and execute it.
Yeah, help people make the decisions and guide them into an easy path with some decent returns.
Yeah, with some decent returns. That vault is under works as of right now. We have a proposal. We are planning once the development pipeline is done, we had finished with everything. That will be first proposal raised by Paystream team. We had one proposal that was a buyback proposal, but every MetaDAO launch has that one proposal.
Yeah. What's it like actually having a company with MetaDAO shareholders or DAO members, or however you want to call it?
So I would say the two type of holders which you generally see. The first one is the typical liquid token funds, and the second one is the user who just bought it on chain from some random terminal, saw the token on their feed and they're like, hey, let's buy it.
Yep.
Some people who actually go and research about the product and then buy it. Few dots.
Yep.
As for the holder perspective, it has been really good, I would say, because it has created enough pressure that we never slack off, but also they give us enough time to make the product and validate the idea properly.
I can see you just launched with LP, and then you've expanded out into 4 main products now, and then you've got the Borrow Lend coming next. It seems like a very deliberate strategy to do things, get them right, and then move on.
Yeah, so the goal is to basically become break even within the next 6 months. So right now, this is public information. Paystream has a $33,500 burn rate each month. Our goal is to hit somewhere 500K ARR in 6 months.
How much is on the platform right now?
For the LP provisioning, we weren't charging any fees because Meteor and Radium were charging enough fees, so it didn't make sense for us to charge any fees. And the volume which we were doing, even with like measly 200 users, like 10K. And these users were like mainly Paystream holders. There was literally no outbound.
Yep.
Now with perp to perp funding rate, spot, perp, hedge, we will be doing this outbound strategies. They will be live within a week. And this probably will have a huge impact. And one good thing is the more capital flows into these two strategies, the more optimized the market at these venues gets. We can't allow too many users to put too many funds.
You were saying before, if some of the strategies become oversubscribed, then they become less effective.
Yeah, because technically the arbitrage only exists because there's a gap in the market.
Yeah.
And if you fill that gap, there's no gap.
Yeah, it's handling an inefficiency in the market.
Exactly. It acts as like a dual-edged sword. It optimizes the market at the same time, and the returns gets diminishing if too many people are using that strategies. So that is one setback with this thing has. With the vault, that won't be a thing. They will have a sort of a decent APY, which will be higher than Athena or any other protocol which you think generally gives more APY when it comes to running their off-chain strategies.
When you say off-chain strategies,
Athena runs some off-chain, same thing with funding, like arbitrage between two different dexes and everything. But you can't code a smart contract to do the same because there's a lot of cross-chain messaging involved. And that cross-chain messaging, along with economics, how much fees are you paying, like 15 BPS, and the funding rate stops making sense. So people execute these sort of strategies off-chain and give the yield to the vault. And the vault shareholders who put the money into the vault, they see the money in real time, how many positions are getting open. And then there's a monthly audit, which is done by a third party, like our Circle does it. And that basically ensures, okay, my money is safe. It's basically running your own trading firm, which is giving really good return. And you know what sort of positions they're opening because every single position that they open, you can see it on the dashboard. So that sort of thing which we'll be doing with the vault. It's not something new, but we have a secret juice which we think will do really well, and we will outperform every vault when it comes to this sort of market segment that we are focusing on.
excellent.
And we will only charge the money if we outperform them. But the goal is we won't charge anything if we are not able to outperform.
I like it. It's bold.
Yeah. Athena is giving like 12.5%, and I think we can do it 17.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Where do you think that technology and in particular blockchain is going to go in the next couple of years?
People don't like it, but I think 3 years, I don't think any company, even with $1 billion market cap, you need 100 people. You can do things with 10 max. If you are not able to run with 10 people, it's a sign of low agency. People are not pushing enough work. You're not able to manage properly. It's all about time and everything. That's one thing. Like, cost of producing the code is hella cheap. It's already hella cheap right now, but imagine 10 cents, 20 cents.
Yeah.
That's my assumption. Second thing, especially with regarding to crypto, I think there will be a huge market which will exist and humans won't even interact with it.
Just AI agents talking to other AI agents,
Exactly.
via X402,
Yeah.
micropayment, competitively solving problems.
Anything in general. I think on the scale it will be done, will be immense. They're getting better at arithmetic-based tasks.
Yeah, they need to know when they invoke the rules of
Yeah.
maths for a problem.
I mean-
But once they can do that reliably, then they can actually start producing calculations that are calculations, not predictive text.
There's one really good founder who told me this one thing, that Maushish, you need to learn how to put your product into a narrative without pushing it into a narrative. So you can do this right now. So go and ask on Grok, what was the crypto narratives last 7 days? Give you a sort of a list. Frank recently made a repo in which you can use X API to make your agent learn every sort of skills which is coming on. Imagine having a BD which can talk to other agents and tell them about your product
Yep.
based on the narrative.
Yep.
If you
Ensure
can-
that it fits naturally
Yeah.
rather than artificially.
Yeah, so that agents can talk to each
Yep.
other. A BD agent talking to other agents. It's like, hey, you can farm XYZ percentage of yield on Paystream. Why would I do that? The agent might be, and basically get other agents to put money. TLDR, 3 years, cost of producing code, hell cheap. There's literally an economy which exists for agents. My assumption is that economy will be immensely big. It might be a stupid take, but 50% of crypto will be just that. Like right now, whatever market cap 50% of crypto has, that will be just the agents. Poly market and prediction markets in general probably becomes one of the major key factors when they're deciding a decision. So I think like prediction markets will become a really good asset class. Vitalik also talked about this recently, like rather than owning stable coins based on dollar, thinking about owning a different sort of positions on prediction market, basically talk about your daily life. Will you be spending $100 on some groceries this month or not? And you're hedging that properly. It looks very vague from right now,
Yeah.
but about 2 years down the line, I don't think so.
Yeah, I've seen people do things like put positions in parcel based on the value of land in their neighborhood that can offset their rent. Like this kind of concept
yeah.
of having financial positions that actually reflect your own lifestyle and allow you to have a financial strategy that is really useful to only you as an individual.
Yeah, I think that individual as a person will become a lot more deeper also. People doing far much more in their daily lives than they're doing right now. I can definitely see what Sam Altman said. There will be a billion-dollar company IPOing, and it's just run by one person.
You have an insight, and the execution is effectively irrelevant.
You just need to have a really good product with really good revenue. I think like the closer was the Loom. Loom is literally like a web extension where you can use to record videos along with the product on the website. So it's like a screen sharing plus video, just an extension to be
Yeah.
honest. And they were doing really good in revenue. I think like the guy sold it for $1 billion.
It's going to be a very interesting next couple of years. Honestly, where I am right now, a lot of the drudgery has been taken away. You know, fixing a race condition or updating some tests or syntax. Those are always never the interesting parts about programming. The interesting things were creating something.
I think the system design was the most interesting
Yeah,
part.
and the design part still exists. Thank you very much, Maushish. That was incredibly insightful.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Ciao.